Good morning. Sorry for being out today. As you know, my voice has been going out, so you'll have to apologize. Today we're going to review what we learned last class on triangle similarity. Please take notes, and then we're going to follow through some practice on how to determine which one to use in a given situation. Okay, so make sure that you've got your notes in front of you, you're ready to take notes, and you've got at least like a couple colored pencils with you too, because that's going to help. All right, you know how I feel about colors. All right, so let's talk about what similar means. So first of all, remember that when we're talking about similarity, it means that our sides must be proportional. Must be proportional. Okay, the sides have to be proportional. That means that the ratios have to be equal to each other. Angles, on the other hand, should be congruent. Angles, the corners, must be congruent. And you're writing this down, right? Right. Thank you. Okay. So then there's three types of similarity that we can use to prove if two triangles are similar. Okay. The first is similar by side, side, side. Okay. And what you're doing if that's the case is if I have, two triangles, okay, those two triangles are going to have, one's going to be bigger, one's going to be smaller, but no matter what the triangle is, if you have three measures, small, medium, and large, you have side measures, small, medium, and large, okay? And I'm just going to say that this is let's just call this one 1 and this one 2. Okay, so I'm going to do 1 over 2. Then what we do is we set it up so that you have small, medium, and large comparisons using fractions. Okay, so I would take small, medium, and large from my little triangle, from triangle 1, and I'd compare it to the small, medium, and large of triangle 2. Then when I divide these, right, if they're all equal to each other, then you can say that they're congruent, okay? All right, then we have something, we have side, angle, side similarity. And what that usually will present as is when you check, you're able to find one angle. Yay, I have an angle that is congruent to each other. And that gives me my angle, right? And then you also have two sides, a side, a small, and a big. Remember, if you've got two sides, or a small one, I should say, I said large last time, so let's stick with large. Small, large, right? Small and large. So if the angles are congruent, that gives you one thing you need. And since you only have two sides, you only need two fractions here. Okay, if I say this is triangle 1 and 2, compare 1 over 2, I need a small and a large fraction. Then I set it up so I have small 1 over small 2, small 1, or large 1 over large 2. Okay, then I check and see if they're equal. Angle, angle is our easiest one to do. If I have any two angles that are congruent, and it has to be two angle pairs. You see, that's one angle, and then that counts those together. This one type, the two of them together count as one angle. Then we have angle, angle similarity. And this should sound familiar to you because we discussed it last class. Okay, so now let's take a look at how we figure out which one to use when, right? So the first thing I do when I'm looking at any problem is to check and see if I have any angles. I do not. Bummer. If I have any angles given to me, or if they were touching and I could figure out an angle using play buttons or vertical angles, then I would try and use those, okay? However, they aren't being given to me here, so what I'm going to have to do instead is set up a comparison. I do have 3 sides. Okay, so I'm just going to have this one be my red triangle and this one be my blue triangle. And I'm going to do red over blue. And set up my 3 fractions. Okay? So I need a small, a medium, and a large, because I have 3 sides. And I set the fractions up, and then I usually like to just do all of the ones from a single triangle at the same time. So like I'm going to do, the smallest is 42, medium is 70, large is 84. Okay? And then for this one, we've got small is 15, medium is 25, large is 30. Now you can reduce your fractions, and if you simplify them, you'll find that they all come out to be the same value. If I reduce them, they will equal each other. Or, if you'd like, you can go ahead and in your calculator do the top number, 42, divided by the bottom number, 15, gives me 2.8. And you need to do this for each one. I have 70 divided by 25, 2.8, 84 divided by 30, 2.8. If they all match, if they're equal, that means that those ratios are proportional and my triangles are congruent to each other. So we would say, yes, these 2 triangles are congruent. They're congruent by side, side, side similarity. And it's also asking you to set up a similarity statement. So they started with S, which is at the corner of the small side, okay? All right, so I'm looking at my small side. Here's my small side. Okay, and then they went from S to U. And I think that they actually set this up wrong. So I think what they meant here is not S-U-T, but I think they meant V-U-T. So let's give that one a shot. Change that to a V. And let's start at V, which is still on the corner of the small side, here. And then they went to U, which is along the other side. So they used the longest side, V to U. So I'm going to find the 2 letters on the longest side. Here's my longest side, and the 2 letters where the small and long sides meet is S. And they go to R. They went from small to long. And then our last one would be Q. If you're struggling with that, you can skip that part. I'm really focused more on the congruency right now. Okay, so let's check the second problem here. Remember, the first thing we do is always check and see if we have been given an angle. Because if we have an angle, we have less work to do, right? Exactly. Okay. So it does look like we have an angle. Yay, less work. Okay, we have a pair of angles, which gives us 1A. And I'm going to check. It does not look like there's another pair of angles I can either mark or that was given. Okay, that's a slight bummer, but that's all right. We do have 2 sides, so we'll set up a side comparison. I'll have a red triangle and a blue triangle. Blue and red. Now this time we have an angle, so I only need 2 sides. I only need 2 fractions. However many sides you're comparing, that's how many fractions you need. If you have an angle, you only need 2 sides, right? So I'm going to have a small and a large. I'm not going to have a medium because I just have 2. And I'm going to start with my red triangle, and my small side is 9, my large side is 10. My blue triangle, my small side is 27, and my large side is 30. If you don't match those up correctly, you're definitely going to struggle with getting the right answer. Then I use my calculator and I check 9 divided by 27, top divided by bottom, and 10 divided by 30. Excellent. Both of those come out to 1/3 or 0.33 repeating. Since they're equal to each other, I know that these are in fact similar. Yes, they're similar. And this time it's by the 2 sides that we got. Side, 1 angle, and a side. Okay. And we've gone over how to do similarity statements before. They're going from E to C along the shortest side. So I'm going to start on the short side, and I'm going to go from the one that doesn't have a mark to the one that does. So here's my short side. I'm going to go from V, the one that doesn't have a mark, to T, the one that does. Then our last one would have to be U. Okay, let's take a look at a couple of others, and then we'll do some practice on your own. So this one is really easy. We always check to see if there's angles first, and check that out. We have one pair of angles. That gives me an A, and I have another pair right here. Remember, one pair gives you one A, right? So that means that these are similar. Yes, we have similar triangles. And they're similar by angle, angle. Okay, outstanding. Done. Moving on. All right. So here, this one's a little, they gave us a bunch of angles, but do any of them match? No, they do not. This has one line, this has two lines, and this has three lines. That means that those angles, none of them match up to each other. So although we have three marks, none of them match. Now there is one pair of angles that we can match. Do you see the kissing V's here? Kissy, kissy V's. Those we can say match, because vertical angles are always congruent, and that gives us 1A. Is 1A enough? No, we'd have to have at least one other angle pair, and we don't have it. So in this case, we say that they are not congruent. Not similar, okay? And if they're not similar, you can't write a similarity statement. All right? Let's go ahead and flip over to the back. There are just a couple other things that I wanted to bring to your attention as we're working through these types of problems. One, on problems like this, you just set it up the way as usual. Be careful on problems like this, and remember that you have a small triangle and a big triangle. Okay, small triangle and big triangle that you need to compare. And although you may not recognize it initially, you see how they share this angle? Both the small and big triangles have an angle there that they share. So you're starting with an angle that's given. Now I could draw an F if these were parallel, but there's no parallel markings, so I can't do that. So I'd have to compare given side, side, side. Okay? Looking down again a little further on these problems, I did also want to bring to your attention that sometimes you'll have a problem for angles where they have given you an angle measure, right? And if they give me one angle measure, that means that these are that match, okay? So that gives me one A. And in this case, I have vertical angles, which can give me another A. If I didn't have vertical angles and they gave me another number, let's just say they gave me 59, then I could find the other angle measure by adding those together and subtracting from 180, right? We combine them, and we would subtract from 180, and that would give us that third angle measure. Right? Right. Okay. So, I would like you guys to take a minute and try, I'd like you to try, let's try this problem 5 and problem 6. They're going to be similar to each other. Okay. Pause the video, give them a shot, and we'll see how you did. Okay, check your work. For the first one, number 5, you should have gotten that they are not similar because although they share an angle, when you match up those sides, you'll find that they do not equal each other, so they're not proportional. The second one, they are similar, and you could have used side, side, side because they gave you all 3 measures, although you had to calculate the small triangle measures on this part and this part, by subtracting the small part from the big part to get the other small part, right? So you could have done side, 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 or as I did, side, angle, side. Either way, you should have gotten 3.6 or 3.63 for any of the fraction combinations you used. And yes, they are similar. So now, this way will give you a practice sheet, and you guys can practice working with each other or working independently. It's up to you. And I'll see you soon.